In a developing story that continues to polarize the basketball world, Bronny James, son of NBA legend LeBron James, has emerged as one of the most scrutinized young athletes in professional sports. Early on, fans voiced frustration over what they perceived as an unjustified path to the NBA. Despite modest high school accolades and an underwhelming college career at USC, Bronny's name carried him to an NBA roster spot. Many viewed this as a blatant case of nepotism, feeling the system had bent to accommodate him rather than reward true merit. His selection to high-profile events like the McDonald's All-American Game and his eventual draft pick drew heavy criticism, especially considering there were more statistically impressive players left behind. Bronny's arrival into the NBA wasn't just seen as premature. It was treated by critics as a symptom of a broken process where fame trumped meritocracy, igniting a firestorm of resentment that followed him into every gym, every locker room, and every social media comment section. From there, the frustration only grew. As Bronny made his way through the NBA Summer League and preseason, his on-court play did little to quiet the noise. Statistically, he struggled mightily, shooting under 30% from the field and barely registering on the scoreboard in several outings. These performances didn't just fall short. They reinforced the belief that Bronny wasn't ready and perhaps never would be. Fans and analysts alike wondered how a player who looked visibly out of place among Summer League talent could realistically compete with the best athletes in the world. His numbers in college were already concerning. Just under 5 points per game and poor efficiency across the board. But now, on the professional stage, his flaws were amplified. Critics argued that had his last name been anything other than James, he wouldn't even be considered for a G League roster spot, let alone an NBA team with a guaranteed multi-year contract. The controversy intensified with his official NBA debut, which should have been a landmark moment in sports history. Bronny and LeBron became the first father-son duo to share the floor in an NBA game, an unprecedented milestone. However, the significance of that moment was undercut by the widespread belief that Bronny hadn't earned his place. Rather than celebration, the debut was met with eye rolls and skepticism. It felt orchestrated, even hollow. For many, the symbolism of the moment didn't outweigh the underlying reality. Bronny hadn't yet proven he belonged on that stage. Instead of being remembered as a triumph of legacy and perseverance, the game was viewed as a publicity move, a marketing ploy driven more by storylines than substance. That sentiment left a sour taste in the mouths of basketball purists who saw the NBA as one of the last true meritocracies in sports. When Bronny was sent down to the G League, the reaction was mixed. While some saw it as a necessary step for development, others viewed it as further evidence that he wasn't prepared for the pros. Unfortunately, his early G League performances mirrored his collegiate and NBA struggles. He shot poorly, turned the ball over, and was largely ineffective. Making matters worse, it was revealed that Bronny would only play home games for the South Bay Lakers, sparking theories that he was being used more as a local attraction than a legitimate player. The optics were terrible. Critics suggested that the Lakers were leveraging his fame to sell tickets and generate buzz while shielding him from the grind and reality of full-time professional basketball. The idea that he was a part-time hooper only worsened public perception, casting him as a privileged player who didn't need to earn his stripes the traditional way. But then, in a twist few saw coming, Bronny began to turn the tide. In a series of G League games, he found his rhythm and started to showcase real improvement. He dropped 16 points, then 21, and eventually exploded for 30 in a breakout performance that had fans and commentators taking notice. His confidence was up, his shot selection improved, and his court vision sharpened. What had once looked like a PR experiment now started to resemble the growth arc of a real basketball player. For the first time in his career, Bronny was making headlines not for who he was, but for how he played. These games weren't just anomalies. They were part of a trend that showed him developing both as a scorer and as a playmaker. He began contributing on both ends of the floor, offering glimpses of a two-way guard who could create for teammates and hold his own defensively. Statistically, the transformation was undeniable. Across a stretch of G League games, Bronny averaged nearly 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, while significantly improving his shooting percentages. More importantly, he began to rank among the league's best in steals, proving he could contribute without the ball. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Analysts who had once ridiculed his presence began acknowledging his growth. He was no longer the worst player on the floor, he was a legitimate G League standout, earning respect the hard way. His development wasn't just about stats either. He showed poise in close games, made smart reads, and began to look like a player with real upside. This version of Bronny, confident and assertive, was a far cry from the shell-shocked rookie we saw in Vegas just months prior. Despite his growth, the Lakers organization made questionable decisions about his usage. They repeatedly pulled him back into the NBA spotlight, even though he clearly wasn't ready. One glaring example was a nationally televised game against the 76ers where Bronny logged his most minutes yet and delivered his worst performance. He was hunted on defense and ineffective on offense. It was a low point for Bronny and a failure in team management. Even head coach J.J. Redick's post-game comments seemed to shift the blame onto the young guard. This mishandling could have derailed his confidence and stalled his development. Fortunately, Bronny was sent back to the G League, where he once again picked up steam and proved that he could bounce back from adversity. One unexpected event helped ease the pressure off Bronny's shoulders. The Lakers traded Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, completely reshaping the team's identity. Suddenly, the media narrative centered on championship contention, not the LeBron-Bronny storyline. This allowed Bronny to quietly continue honing his craft in South Bay. Without the daily spotlight, he thrived. He delivered a 28-point game, followed by another dominant performance with 24 points on 63% shooting. With each passing week, he added something new to his game: better shot selection, improved decision-making, and more vocal leadership on the court. It became clear that, away from the noise, Bronny was becoming a complete player, not just a storyline. In a surprising turn of events, Bronny was quietly recalled to the Lakers on the same night Luka Doncic made his team debut. All media attention was on Luka, allowing Bronny to return under the radar. And in that low-pressure environment, he delivered his best NBA performance to date: 9 points in 7 minutes on efficient shooting. Rather than capitalize on that momentum prematurely, the Lakers finally made the right call. They sent Bronny back to the G League, choosing development over exposure. Since then, he's played his most complete games yet, including a 24-point showing where he shot 66% from 3 and dished out 6 assists. In his most recent outing, he posted 8 assists and 6 rebounds, playing with control and confidence rarely seen before. Now, as of the most current G League standings, Bronny James is averaging 21.9 points, 5.4 rebounds, 5.1 assists, and 2 steals per game. He's shooting a respectable 44% from the field and an impressive 39% from beyond the arc. These are not the numbers of a novelty act. They're the stats of a legitimate professional basketball player. It's a remarkable turnaround from the player once seen as the worst in the NBA. But despite the progress, analysts warn that caution is still necessary. Bronny is not ready for the NBA playoffs and should not be rushed into high-stakes minutes against elite teams like Denver or Oklahoma City. The development plan should remain centered on the G League. If managed carefully, Bronny's story could become one of the greatest turnarounds in recent NBA memory. A young man born into immense pressure, who faced national humiliation and responded with hard work, maturity, and legitimate growth as a player.